Ohai. Nessebar, also Nessebar, the Bulgarian city located on the Black Sea coast of Bulgaria, on the rocky peninsula 850 m long and 300 m wide in 37 km to the north of the city of Burgas. According to a population census of 2011, 10143 persons lived in the city. Nessebar is divided into two parts. New Nessebar, in which the majority of modern houses and hotels is located, a resort complex, the sunny beach, and Old Nessebar located on the small peninsula. The city of Nessebar, one of the oldest cities of Europe. This is the successor of the ancient Thracian settlement named by Mesembria, existing since the beginning of the first millennium BB. In 510 he was turned into the Greek colony. Since antiquity, ruins of a fortification, a tower, a collar, reliefs remained up to now. In 1983 the district of the old city of Nessebar was included in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List. In the old town there take place intensive archaeological researches. At excavation, ruins of church of construction of the 9th century AD and also the remains Byzantine A term were found. In the earliest archaeological layers in the territory of modern Nessebar, the ceramics which in East Mediterranean usually is associated with Thracians is found. This ceramics is dated the end of a Bronze Age, the beginning of the century of Iron, that is 12th–11th century BB. This type of ceramics is characteristic both of the internal areas of Thrace, and of coasts of the Black and Aegean Seas. According to Strabo, originally the settlement founded here by Thracians was called Menabria, that is Menopol, as a certain Mena was its founder, and Brias in a Thracian way means city. At the end of the 6th century BB, Doriski Greeks, immigrants from Megar, Byzantium or Halkidona, turned them into the Greek colony and brisk shopping center. From now on the city in the Greek world was known as Mesembria or Mesembria. On the basis of references, exact date of emergence here of the Greek colony 510 BB are considered. The first archaeological materials are dated approximately 500 BB. Most part of the antique city from here is irrevocably destroyed by a destructive earthquake. The territory of the peninsula made about 40 hectares, and now only 24. 12/the 6th centuries BB date some city gate and the underwater remains of strengthenings of the time of the city. Ruins of fortifications and towers from hewn limestone, the archaeological remains of the agora in the center, an acropolis, a peristyle and several dwellings remained. In the 72nd year BB the city was occupied by army of the Roman Empire, without the actual resistance. After short occupation Mesembria, Melsembria, became a part of the Roman Empire and acquired a number of privileges, for example, the right to mint own coin. At the end of the 1st century in the city the first Christian female great martyr, Saint Irene Macedonian, which, according to the legend, was recovered by an angel after the execution, accepted death. After disintegration of the Roman Empire the city, as well as all Balkan Peninsula, was included in structure of Byzantium. The most valuable monument of the Byzantine era is the Basilica of Sacred Sophia, called by the Old Metropolitanate, constructed on the place of the Agora in the 6th century. In 680 Mesembria was brought to the level of the episcopal city. In 812 the Bulgarian Khan Krum Grozny, who approved behind this city a transcription Nessebar, took control of Mesembria. In 1098 in the neighborhood of the city there was a revolt of sect of Bogomils. Already as a part of the Bulgarian state, in the 13th, 14th centuries when Bulgaria was especially strong in a political and economic relationship and endured the cultural blossoming, Nessebar became the city more than with 40 churches. Constructed in the 12th, 14th centuries, including church the new metropolitanate. The peak of development of Nessebar fell on time of government of the Tsar Ivan Alexander when the city was one of the most important in the Bulgarian state. In 1452 Nessebar fell under the pressure of Turks, and walls of fortress were destroyed. At the time of the Ottoman yoke, the 15th, 19th century, Nessebar was devastated and ruined, as well as many other Bulgarian cities. Many unique monuments of architecture were destroyed. Turks brought the culture and the religion. In Ottoman officework the city appeared both in the Turkish transcription of Misivri, and under the ancient Greek name. The last passed into Russian and occurred in two options. Mesembria. It is borrowed through the Western European languages. And Mesemvria. It is borrowed directly from Greek. This discrepancy is connected with change in pronunciation of a letter in Greek throughout centuries. The Bulgarian transcription Nessebar in the 15th, 19th centuries was almost not used. During the Bulgarian national revival in the city houses which give to modern Nessebar archaic romanticism were built. Typical Nesbarsky houses of the 18th, 19th centuries have the small yards coming to the street which is outlined by walls of stone first floors. The wooden ladder, quite often mobile, conducts to rooms of the top floor. It is easy, it is completely sheathed by a tree and acts over the first floor, and the beams which are propping up it narrow visually street space even stronger. Wooden ceilings and the bleached walls are characteristic of an interior. Windows on the top floors wide, while in Sokol narrow and not numerous. Presently in these houses souvenir shops, café and restaurants are quite often located. In the 1920th years Mesemvria, in 1934 officially renamed into Nessebar, began to develop gradually as the resort, however most of the population of the city was still engaged in fishing. During World War II in the neighborhood of the city several powerful pillboxes and the artillery batteries covering Nessebar from the sea and Sushi were constructed. They weren't involved in fighting and now are deserted. The mainland of the city began to be built up actively in the mid-50s. With the advent of the neighboring resort the Sunny Beach, Nessebar began to develop mainly as the resort. Last time the Turkish fortress of Mesemvria had to be at war during the Russian-Turkish War of 1828-1829 on July 9-11, 1829. On July 9 the ships of the Russian military of the fleet, and from the land the Russian infantry approached fortifications which defended troops of the Davut Benchuni Pasha Osman from the sea. The isthmus connecting Mesemvria to the continent was protected by an ancient massive tower and, from the west, a redoubt. The garrison of fortress made 2,000 people at 15 tools. By the evening on July 10 3 Russian Alansky regiment and infantry under command of the Major General Otto Vaktin approached the city. Turks refused the offer to be given. Then the Russian artillery opened fire at a redoubt on an isthmus, and literally after several shots forced his garrison to capitulate. At the same time, bombardier ships from a squadron of the Admiral Alexei Grega began Mazumvraya's firing, and the fifth hit blew up the main powder cellar of Turks. After that, the Russian general from Infanterie Login Roth Othman Pasha suggested to give up, and it agreed provided that the garrison will be able to leave fortress. Russians rejected this condition, and then Othman Pasha managed to get to himself time till the dawn on July 11 to convince to be given the subordinates. At dawn on July 11, 1829, Russians received keys from Mazumvria. In captivity, 200 Turks gave up, 19 tools, 10 banners and large supplies of food were taken. A part of garrison tried to go on rowing vessels to Anchialos, nowadays Pomori, but the Russian brig of Orpheus broke evacuation. Such Russian commanders as Yakov Baklanov, Lazar Serebryakov and Alexander Yushkov, and also the commander of the hasty frigate Alexander Kazarsky, who 2 months ago glorified the name by fight on a brig, Mercury, participated in Mazumvraya's capture. Operation on Mazumvraya's capture was on July 9-11, 1829, an example of accurate and fruitful interaction overland and the navies. On July 11 to Mazumvria there arrived the commander-in-chief of the Russian army Ivan Dibich, who paid a visit to the Admiral Greg by the linear Paris ship and celebrated a birthday of the great Princess Olga Nikolavna there. On July 12 the Emperor Nicholas I received the letter from Dibich. Victorious banners of Your Majesty flutter on Mazumvraya's walls, Akwola and Burgas, among the population which meets our men of courage as liberators and brothers. In response to this letter, Nicholas I granted Dibich a title of Count, with an honorable prefix to a surname Zabalkansky. In honor of Mazumvraya's capture, 2 fighting ships of the Russian fleet were called. The first, 24-gun corvette of Mazumvria, was a part of the Black Sea Fleet in April 1832, and in May of the 1838 died during a storm in the mouth of the river of Sochi. The second, 60-gun Mazumvria frigate, same with the well-known Pallada frigate, was a part of the Black Sea Fleet since November 1840, and on February 13, 1855 was flooded in the Sevastopol Bay. In 1921 in Mazumvria, the Mazumvriysko-Krasnovsky Cossack village, which united the Russian Cossacks emigrating to Mazumvria, was created. Stanitsa Atmans were. Since 1921 the Colonel P.D. Rodionev, since 1922 Horanzi F.A. Zakharev, since 1923 Horanzi Kuznetsov. In March 1924 again P.D. Rodionev, since the end of March 1924 the Major General 5. A. Lazarkich, since May 1927 P.F. Prosvirov. The last documentary evidences about activity of the village belong to 1928. Lists of Cossacks of the village are nowadays stored in the State Archive of the Russian Federation. R-6048 Fund. Political situation. Commit. Mayor of Community Nessebar, Nikolay Kirillov Dimitrov. Independent. By results of elections to Government of Community. Architecture monuments. Christ Pantocrator's Church in Nessebar. The 13th century. Christ Pantocrator's Church. Saint Ion Alicha Jesus' Church. Saint John the Baptist Church. Church of Sacred Sophia. Church of Saint Archangels Michael and Gabriel. Church Saint Paraskev. Saint Stephen's Church. The Western Fortification with Gate. Famous natives. Persoveri. Aristide Fydorovich. The Greek officer heading the Greek Legion of the Emperor Nicholas I in the years of the Crimean War. Twin cities. Russia Central District cities of Sochi, Russia. Russia Norilsk, Russia. Northern Macedonia of Ohrid, Macedonia. Hungary Budapest, Hungary. Russia Street. Petersburg, Russia. Portugal Guimarães, Portugal. Contracts on cooperation with the following cities are also signed. Greece Rhodes, Greece. Croatia Dubrovnik, Croatia. Turkey of Safranbolu, Turkey. San Marino of San Marino. Malta Birkirkara, Malta. Sport. In the city there is a soccer team, Nessebar. The city stadium of team is designed for 6,000 viewers. Size of the field of 100 by 50 m. Behind stadium there is an artificial field. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.